Welcome to Big Brother Basics, where we break down the basics of Big Brother Basics Season 3. We have a full house today. Let's talk about it. Joining me is production. My name's Keith Guerrero. I'm the host of the season. Joining me is the always fantastic, always fabulous Jermaine Kendricks. Jermaine, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
Always ecstatic, always erratic, Katie Vandervliet.
I'm ecstatic.
Always peppy, always preppy, Nick Hammond.
Sure, let's go with that. Hey.
And of course, we have the good person from production 1, 2, and now 3.
Don't touch me.
Aaron Emler. So yes, we're going to be talking about the events of week 3 and potentially getting into each person individually as well. So we'll just dive right into it. We're going into the HOH competition. Sean is just evicted by a 5-4 vote. And we're going to see who's going to win HOH. Now, they had to work in pairs. They had about 5 minutes to select their pairs. Jermaine, what did you think about this entire process? How they had to kind of awkwardly determine it on call and claim who they're working with?
It was very funny. Actually, very hilarious because you could see the immense, some people were just like, I don't know what the, like who wants me? Other people behind the scenes were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, which way do we go? Which way do we go? I thought it was just great to see how they react so quickly or not so quickly to a twist being thrown at them like that. I thought it was really fun just to see everybody scramble. I enjoyed it.
I was personally looking at the GBs, the good bitches, and how they would approach the whole pair situation if they're going to just go by themselves or if they're going to branch out. I honestly thought it would be dangerous to branch out. You don't know what's going to happen. You could potentially be paired with them the entire week. A pair could go home. You could both be HOH. Like, you don't know. There's no context. Katie, what did you think of them branching out with Joe ending up with Ryan, Dustin ending up with Andrew, and Jonathan and Jacob being the pair?
I don't necessarily think it was a good idea, but I think that's because I was watching when they were doing that, and Ryan's telling his group, oh, I'm doing this to screw Joe over. Like, why wouldn't Joe think of that? Or why wouldn't these people think that to choose someone from the other side, neither of you are going to win? Like, that's a risk you're taking. So I wasn't about it, but it's more fun that way because it is more interesting to see whose competitive nature takes over as opposed to wanting to stop someone else from winning. But I wasn't about it. I didn't like it.
Most definitely. Like, the lines are clear, but they still wanted to make it seem like it's somewhat blurry. Okay. So we get into the competition, which is a personal favorite of mine, Reverse Mad Libs. I'm so glad we were able to execute it. It seemed like a fun time. It was not sponsored, and we'll be still collecting that check. Nick, let's talk about the results a little bit, because we did have it down between Chris and Michael Brady and Jonathan and Jacob. And that is clearly like the most intense final 2 pairs that you could have. When the results were revealing, what were kind of going through your mind as it was down to these 2 teams?
I thought it was funny how it was just like the 2 basically polar opposites of the house, and it was down. And I knew who had won at this point before that they did. But I was hosting Michael Brady and Chris on their original competition, and I thought that they flew through it. I was so impressed by Chris, especially. He did not ask me any instructions, and I was confused at first by the competition. He didn't ask me anything. He just went straight to work. So the fact that Jonathan and Jacob did it in like 8 or 9 minutes or whatever it was, like, blew my mind. And yeah, that was a really fun, intense moment as people were dropping out of the call and then Shelby sneaking in there and you kicking her off. Like, that was really funny.
Definitely. Now, Aaron, we do have another roommate that lives with us, Jacob. Let's talk about the thought process between Jacob and Jonathan selecting who's going to be HOH. They won. Jacob has people he wants to target. Jonathan has the people he wants to target. Jonathan might have done the quicker or like the more tough part of the competition. What did you think about their decision making and who was going to be HOH?
Well, from what I saw, it seemed pretty simple. Jonathan wants to win HOH because he's been at the bottom. He literally doesn't talk to a lot of people in the house. And Jacob is cool with somebody on his side winning HOH and him not having to get his hands bloody, at least not this week. So it was pretty simple. It was easy.
Yeah. And after Jonathan won HOH, I began to host some hangouts with him. But before that, he was on the call with the GBs. And it was very interesting. They obviously said that they're all safe, all that stuff. But then whenever I was hosting Jonathan in his own private Google Hangouts and bringing everybody else from the other side in one at a time, he was like, man, damn it. Like, I wish Jacob was getting his hands dirty. You know, like, I wish that it wasn't me. Like, I know I'd be safe. And here I am having to, like, put my cards out there. So Jonathan's talking to everybody. He's giving everybody on the other side a chance. Jermaine, I always seem to bring up Chris with you, but I want to bring up Chris. Now, Chris had actually a shot to remain off the block. Jonathan was open. He was completely open to keeping Chris off the block. But Chris kind of had, and I want to say maybe an ego or a pride, where he didn't want to beg for safety. He was more inclined to saying, this is what I did. I went after you week 1. If you put me on the block, it's okay. And we can move forward from here if I survive. What did you think about Chris's tactic in approaching the conversation like that?
Chris set himself up for a difficult week. Definitely, when somebody is willing to even like hear you out, it is always good to kind of, you know, kind of extend that olive branch, even if you know that you're still going to be nominated or in danger. It still makes you look like you have better sportsmanship. And for him to just kind of be like, oh, just do what you got to do. Like, whatever, it's cool, it's fine, whatever. Was very dismissive almost of Jonathan, not only just in his HOH reign, but going forward in the game. It's kind of a way of him saying like, you know, you're whatever. Like, you do what you do, I do what I do. And like, we'll just, you know, we'll figure it out. Not smart, not good long-term. Not good for the week, definitely not good long-term.
Awesome. Katie, now I do want to talk about Jonathan's nominations. He has Taylor, who guns for him at every single game they play together for whatever reason. They're passed. It's just something they do. They understand it, they're good with it, and they're going to move on with it. However, there are 2 clear pairs gunning for each other. There is Taylor and Chris on one side, there's Jacob and Joe on the other. They will always target each other before they target anyone else. Should John have potentially taken out maybe a pawn figure like Mandy or Ryan, or was it okay to target Taylor and Chris since they were so adamant about getting rid of Jonathan week 1?
I think, because I thought about this, if I were in Jonathan's situation, I think I would have done the same thing he did. I think I would have went for the larger pair. Whether it's the right move or not, I'm not 100%, but I think in doing that, he solidified himself in an alliance that he's already kind of at the bottom of. So I think that like showed his loyalty a little more. Maybe got him a little closer with Dustin. And I think it also sends a bit of a message to Joe and Jacob that like big pairs can be taken out in like 1 week. And I think they need to know that. I don't think that was Jonathan's intention, but I saw that happening, and I think it's going to be a fun message that they can play around with for the next few weeks.
Most definitely. So we go into the veto player draw. It's Jonathan. I always do bad at this. It's Jonathan. It's the 2 nominees, Taylor and Chris. And Michael Brady was chosen by house guest choice by, I believe, Taylor, was drawn again by Chris, and then had to redraw, and he picked, I believe, Shelby. And then Jonathan picked Andrew. So Andrew's been in every single veto competition since week 1. We have these 6. It's not necessarily the best picks for the GBs, but it doesn't really matter. They're going to get what they want. One of the 2 people that are on the block is going to be eliminated. Now, we're doing the veto competition. They're rummaging through the house, somewhat luck-based, but I did think it was kind of interesting that Chris was mentioning that you had to kind of think of the psychological aspect of who's going to hide what where are people thinking about wanting to hide. And people were like complaining about the grid. I don't think they realized there were less items on the grid than there were inside the house. Like, they were kind of dumb to just dismiss the grid, but I know Chris didn't. Chris looked at the grid. He was taking the competition very seriously, and that's what you do when your ass is on the line. He found 3 of the vetoes. He ended up winning and securing his safety. Nick, what do you think about Chris kind of coming through in the clutch and basically sealing Taylor's fate?
I think it was great. I mean, good for him. I love the fact that all 3 weeks a nominee has won the veto. Like, I love when that happens. I think it's so boring when the veto does not get used. So I was really happy to see one of the nominees win it. But yeah, it was really unfortunate because I knew that if one, whichever nominee comes down, the other nominee at that point, Taylor or Chris, is probably 100% going home because the replacement is going to be upon like Mandy or Ryan. So I don't know. It's like a bittersweet feeling because I like both Chris and Taylor, so it was a bummer to know that like even though Chris won, Taylor's almost definitely going home at this point.
Definitely. And, like, I was kind of wondering, is Chris the type of person to be like, I'm not having fun in this game anymore, let me bounce? But he's not. He's competitive. He's here to stay. So I'm super excited that Chris is here to win and to get some blood now that he's staying. Aaron, before I move on to replacement nominations, there is something that kind of happened with our hashtag Jailbait Alliance. They did have their first kind of altercation this coming week where Jacob was kind of very selfish with understanding where Shelby's position is. They're already thinking of the next week. This week is easy. Taylor or Chris is going. But Shelby is thinking, I don't really need an HOH. It would be awesome if you guys could win it. And Jacob is saying, I need you to get HOH. I need you to get HOH. Like, our side needs to win it. If you throw HOH, I'm going on the block. Well, while that's true, I don't think Jacob really listened to Shelby. And both of them basically said, this is our first time kind of having a disagreement. Tell me a little bit more about that situation.
Well, what I really got from the conversation, more so than Shelby not wanting to win HOH because she's in a good position or a better position than a lot of other people, was that she isn't, Brady isn't number one on her target list, and Brady's number one on Jacob's target list. So there's like a difference of where Brady falls in, because Brady's a mess, but Brady is sort of okay with Shelby. I don't know, because sometimes his DRs say go back and forth, but he's sort of okay with Shelby and completely not here for Jacob. So like Jacob almost wants Shelby, if Shelby were to win HOH, wants her to put Brady up, but she doesn't want to do that. So it's like, if you want Brady to go up, you need to do it yourself type of deal. And I do understand Jacob's frustration on Shelby wanting to give information to Brady. Like, I get what he's saying, but he's thinking about his game. She's thinking about her game. Exactly. And you got to understand that she's not playing for you to win. She's playing for herself to win. So
and that's kind of what I'm hoping we get from Shelby, in that I don't want her to play Jacob's game. I want her to play her own game. And I think she is. I think she is totally playing her own game, and she's doing a good job. I just hope that if she needs to cut Jacob because she's just giving way too much because she's in a good position, I hope she cuts him before sacrificing her position. But she's also loyal, and it's an awesome alliance they're pairing. But right now, Jacob is a very visible target because of his relationship with Joe. And right now, Shelby, I would say, get Joe out of the house, and then maybe Jacob's a more workable option moving forward.
I think that was her thinking about it. Like, her even going to confessionals saying like, I'm so mad at Jacob, didn't understand. Like, it was like her talking to herself like, you need to reevaluate how you're playing because you're telling Jacob too much information, and you really need to be playing the game for yourself. So I think she learned a little bit this week for her personal game.
I was so mad at Shelby.
You're mad at Shelby?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Like, why are you asking if you can give Brady this information? Give him the information. You don't need Jacob's permission to do anything. And for me, I was so angry with her because I was like, play the game. Don't ask if you can. Because like, as someone who lost the game because they did that with Patrick, I'm against it.
Oh my God, I freaking love it. That's a very good point. And again, Jacob's a strong ally, but he's going to push his agenda. And right now, I think Shelby sees that he's pushing his agenda and it's not aligning with what she instinctively, she said in her interview, she has her gut, she can trust her gut, and she has really good instincts. So I just really hope that she sees what Jacob's doing and doesn't just do it, And I think that she has the capability of doing that. So that happened, and it's so funny. Shelby's like, "This probably ain't gonna go in the episode. It's going in the episode. No, this is important." Anyway, so we're gonna talk about the replacements now. Jermaine, if you were Jonathan and Chris just won veto, Would you put up Michael Brady, who put you up week 1, but also voted to keep you? Would you put up Ryan, who you don't necessarily have the strongest relationship with? Or would you put up Mandy, who's saying all of these offensive things? What would you do?
You know, I honestly probably would have done Ryan, and it's simply because of the matter of fact that, one, like Jonathan was very clear when he was like, I got somebody over here, I got 2 people who don't talk to me. One of them, well, both of them voted to evict me. This one I really can't talk to. Mandy has at least made the attempt to somewhat try to connect him, even though she failed miserably. To connect with him. Then you got Ryan over here who's just kind of like, yeah, like my Wheaties. Like, I'm like, you know what? He doesn't give a damn about me. Like, you can go up, and even though you're safe, I don't care about you. You don't care about me. Sit on the block, enjoy like a free week, or or a free few days, and just be all right.
Now, Katie, we're going to talk about Ryan real quick. And I want to go in on him. I do, because that reaction I thought was completely stupid. And I gave Ryan so much credit for being this under the radar, cool, chill guy. What did you think about his reaction, popping off on Jonathan, leaving the call, re-entering the call to cuss out Jonathan some more when he's fucking safe?
Yeah, no, it was so just awful. Because you're not in a position where you know everybody likes you. Like, there are people in this house who you maybe don't connect with. That is the kind of shit that gets you evicted. That is what, and what bothered me is when he did leave, I was like, good, go take some time, go take some space, figure shit out. He comes back angrier than before, cuts people off in the conversation. Jonathan's not even on screen. He's like doing something in the background, and he's yelling at his back and calling him all these awful things. In that moment, I was like, Jonathan, how you're keeping your cool is exactly how Ryan should be playing this game. You're like teaching him a master class right now of how to remain calm in a situation that would otherwise make most people angry. And I couldn't believe just how he didn't connect that concept. Like, haven't you played games before? Don't you know that being that aggressive and angry at being put up makes you an asshole to everybody else who takes it like a champ and is like, oh, I understand, and B, makes you a target. Like, oh, it was so dumb. It was so dumb.
Gosh, if I could talk for 30 minutes of how bad of a move that was, I would. Like, it was so terrible. And like, if you're not going to bring activity to the game, at least be nice. Like, you could have at least been nice and just sat your ass on the block, but you're not even doing that. So it's like, why are you here? Just because your crush Taylor is sitting on the block, maybe you're going to start popping off too. So it's guaranteed that one of you two go. He didn't say any of that, so I don't know. But it was completely dumb. And the confessional that he left afterwards had every other sentence with a bleep, 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 bleep. F this, F that, or F this. So
Yeah, everybody.
I don't understand what's going on with you, Ryan. You just need to put on your big boy pants and play the game, and maybe stop throwing competition like you're trying to, like, and you're so upset. Why are you mad? You're throwing everything. You're being on the block. You see, that's what I sincerely don't like about you, Ryan. Like, I gave you a lot of credit, and you just went down to the bottom of the list because of that antic that you did at the veto ceremony. There's moments where that's acceptable, but it's not acceptable for that moment. Go ahead, Jermaine.
I can tell you why he popped off. Because I know why he popped off. I'm in his mind right now. Has a huge ego. He's had 2 weeks where he has been saying, everybody likes me. I'm cool with everybody. I'm on everybody's good side. He was so egotistical. He was so delusional in how good of a position he was in this game. Jonathan slapped him back into reality and said, no, you're really not that good in this game. And he just because that's what a lot of people do when they are so delusional and they're hit with reality. Like, it's just a natural response. He was uncomfortable. He was just shook to the core. And, you know, like, I mean, I understand why he blew up, but it was bad for his game. But I get the mentality because he thought that he was doing so well, and it was like, nope, you're really not.
I also didn't like his justification, though. I'm sorry to attack him some more. I don't like his justification for saying the conversation we had on Sunday equates to me being safe on the block post veto ceremony. Like, if the last conversation you had with the HOH is on Sunday, that's your fault. He's in power, you're not. So if you're going to wait for that conversation to secure your safety for the entire week, then maybe you deserve to sit your ass on the block, or maybe you deserve to go home. Man, if I was Jonathan, I would say flip it, put it on Ryan. Like, but I'm just that type of emotional player. Jonathan stayed cool and did the strategic decision and still targeting Taylor. Now, Nick, let's go to the eviction ceremony. Do you think that there's anything that Taylor could have done to secure her safety, or was she a dead woman walking?
Unfortunately, no. I think she was kind of a dead woman walking, which sucks because I would have, not to pile on the, Ryan sucks train, but like I would have really loved if it switched up and Taylor could have stayed because, yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed in Ryan this week as well, but I think Taylor had some really good potential in this game. She was a really fun character to watch, and I think she put a lot of work and effort into this game, which I appreciate. Much more than someone who throws challenges all the time. So, unfortunately, I just don't really see anything she could have done. It's compounded between the fact that she's seen as a pair with Chris. That's one thing against her, and then she's one of the main comp winners on that side of the house. So, if the good bitches need to target someone, it needs to be someone who's actually winning comps, which there's not a whole lot of them on that side, and she's one of them.
Exactly. It just seems like it's a series of unfortunate decisions from that side that led to this moment, because now the good bitches are targeting their strong competitors. You got rid of Pam instead of Jonathan, Michael Brady. So Jonathan's a number over there. You got rid of Sean instead of Mandy, and Sean was a strong competitor. Sean was nominated by Shelby. Sean would have went after that side, but you still got rid of Sean over Mandy. And now you're stuck with Taylor and Mandy being partnered in the pair challenge, being the first team out. You have Ryan, who was throwing the competition. If he actually tried, he might have won. He might have won. He is a 4.0 GPA, like very smart guy. He was double checking his work, taking a long time, and he almost beat who was it? Michael Brady and Chris, like while throwing it. So if he would have tried, maybe he would have had a competitive time with Jonathan. You have Ryan, who's throwing competition, Mandy, who's not too strong. Then you have Michael Brady and Chris, and now you have Taylor, who's gone. And now you're going against a big force that you set up. Aaron, what do you think about this side? Do you think they have a chance to pull it together?
I'm only rooting for Chris, to be honest. Like, I'm so done with the crying and the blaming and everything that happened the past 3 weeks is literally y'all's fault. So, like, I mean, Chris also is complaining or whatever, but I mean, he's winning himself to safety and isn't really playing the victim. He's gonna still make those relationships. He's still talking with people. So yeah, I'm only for Chris on that side.
Yeah,
I can't do it with anyone else.
Yeah, Chris has the best attitude on that side. Like, I was really disappointed with the Minority Alliance this week because, like, so much like, oh, this, Michael Brady with this is a dictatorship. They don't let us do anything. Blah blah blah. It's like you chose the wrong allies. Your allies are Mandy, who, like, no offense, she hasn't shown to be a strong competitor. Ryan, who throws everything, and like they're just so much. There's so much whining. There's so much like, and then not trying. Like, I feel like Chris is one person who has the most potential to bounce back from this. Because I know from experience, losing your partner in a game like this is actually a really good thing to happen to you. So now that he doesn't have his partner in crime, like, he can go places, whereas the other people are just dwelling on this.
I love Nick and Katie for bringing their basics references. Hell yeah, coming from the experts themselves. Okay, before we go into some character deep talk, I do want to say, who do y'all think and who do y'all want to be the last pre-jury member of the season? I'll go first. Obviously, I want Ryan to be pre-jury, but on a more entertainment value, I would prefer Joe or Jacob to be the next pre-jury member. Jermaine, what are your thoughts?
You took it right out my mouth. I was like, Joe, pre-jury, like, it would fit so well. Although I also, at this point, wouldn't mind Dustin being pre-jury. Yes, I said it. And the reason why I said I wouldn't mind Destin being pre-jury is because this week I have been very let down by Destin. I don't want to get too much into it, but he is getting so comfortable that I feel like he's not trying. Like, I feel like he's at this point in the game, he's not trying as much as he was the first couple of weeks. He got in something solid, and now he's just like, fuck them, they're bitches, whatever, they're mean. I don't care who goes home. I'm like what? Like, so we just stopped playing the game? Like, we just kind of like essentially throw in the towel. You know what? You can just go have a seat on the pre-jury bench. Like, but you know, he has time. I'm just saying. But this week he really let me down. So I'd be fine with either him or Joe sitting in the pre-jury. I think it'd be funnier for Joe to end up in pre-jury though.
Thank you so much. Katie, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I hope Dustin does not go free jury. I love him. he's so much fun. I think mine is obvious. I don't know why Mandy is in this game at all. I don't want her to be around much longer. I don't want to have to listen to her in jury. I want none of it. I would have been happy if she was gone first. Like, I'm done. And I just
Thank you very much, Katie. And Nick, what are your thoughts?
I am going to channel my inner Pam and say, Michael Brady or Ryan, I'd be happy with leaving next, just because all they do is talk about how drunk they are, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like, I don't know. It's funny for a while, but it's frustrating to me now. So like, you can go.
Okay, awesome. Now we get to talk about everybody individually, which I think there's a lot to talk about. And let's start with Ryan so we could just not talk about him anymore, because we did kind of rip him a new one in this one. But I just want to kind of comment on what you just said, Nick, like the town drunk thing. In his eviction plea, he was still saying, I'm having a good time drinking with you. It's week fucking 3. It's week 3. And you're still going to try to play this town drunk card after you popped off and showed your true colors to Jonathan the night before. Just makes you seem completely fake, at least to me. So any thoughts about Ryan, or do y'all want to move on to someone else?
I'll say something real quick, because we are shitting on him a lot, and I want to shit on him a little bit more, but I also want to say try to come up with a couple good things. So first of all, I was so frustrated in his latest DR where he talks about Jonathan being fake, when I'm like, you are in an alliance with every single person in the house, which it's like, it's not a bad thing to have that, but it's hypocritical to call someone fake when you are in an alliance with, you know, Michael Brady and Chris, and then you have your alliance with Joe, and then you have your Care Bears alliance with, I don't think anyone believes that that's a real alliance, but still. But I will say, like, I mean, he's the first person to sit on the block and not receive any votes. So, like, while that probably speaks more to Taylor being a threat than him being well-liked, he is, you know, you hear people like Joe in his confessionals say that they do like Ryan. So it's not completely untrue. He's done a better job than other people in his alliance reaching out across the aisle. I will say that.
Good points. Good points. Aaron?
I just want to follow up on that. The hypocrisy of Ryan. Literally, I don't know who said it, or I feel like it was one of y'all. For him to get mad at Jonathan for promising him safety earlier in the week, even though the prior week he promised Sean his vote, and he wasn't going to keep it. Like, even before veto, he already said he wasn't going. Like, he told us that he wasn't going to actually keep Sean. So it's like, you can do it, but someone else can't do it, and that's like a problem.
And Jonathan didn't even do it. That's the thing. Like, he didn't.
Like, even if he did do it,
right?
Like, he only you can do it, and he can't. But yeah, I won't go too far into Ryan, because I write bad things about him every single week. So.
Speaking of someone else you write about bad every single week, let's talk about Andrew. Because personally, Andrew's one of my favorite characters to watch this season. I love watching Andrew. I understand his confessionals aren't the best because
they're non-existent.
They are non-existent. But he's like a 10-gauger. He comes from a community where there's no emotions involved.
That's not an excuse. And you know
why?
I
understand.
There are people in other seasons that have never even played an org, Erica. And they give people something.
I understand.
So like, his like when I say this, like he is the luckiest person in Big Brother Basics history. Like so lucky because his lack of presence is just so because of everybody being on sides. Like, oh, he's so lucky. And I still want him. You didn't ask me, by the way.
Sorry.
I want him or Ryan or Mandy to be that last pre-juror spot. And I feel like the only way that'll happen is if Andrew or Mandy are HOH. I feel like that's the only way that one of those three people goes. And it pisses me off because I really want one of them gone, especially Ryan. But Andrew leaving too would just warm my heart because he's so, like, I don't want that on Dre. Because he's going to get far for no reason. No reason of his own, at least.
Yeah. I disagree because I do love Andrew. I think that it's so fun to watch him go from going home week 1 to being the swing vote week 2, and both sides understanding that that's his position, but can't do a damn thing about it because they're so ostracized. I absolutely love watching his position in the game. I just want him to keep us more informed. Do any of y'all have anything to say about Andrew?
Yes, I do. So when we first started the first week, I was definitely, Andrew was at the bottom of my list. I was like, he's giving me nothing. Andrew, he made a remark about how he comes from a community, like you said, where you only talk strategy. Andrew is like the personification of what's wrong with the current Big Brother trend now, where it's less about human beings playing and more about like, oh, we just got to be strategic. It's all strategy talk, or like, we don't need to talk. But he has lucked himself into the position he is now. I do sense though and see a little bit growth in his gameplay. I do feel like he's actually trying to talk to people a little bit more. Like I'm hearing people actually say like, I had a one-on-one conversation with Andrew Moore. And I'm just like, oh, really? Like, oh, okay. So he's not being as kind of antisocial as he was the first week. Because the first week he was just like, I don't care about nobody. Like, whatever. I don't care. I'm just here like for whatever. And I was just like, why is he even here if he doesn't like want to talk or socialize or play like the full game? Because to me, it's frustrating when someone both the social and the strategic aspect of the game, they only choose to do one. But I am seeing now more growth in he realizes that he has lucked into a position that is actually good for his game. So I want to see the journey continue now with him. I want to see how he plays that going on in the game.
That's awesome. We're going to move on to someone else just due to time. But you mentioned luck, and I was actually thinking about this because I actually think the luckiest person in the cast right now is Jacob. I think that a lot of things ended up working out for him that may not have worked out in other series. His closest ally won second week HOH. The person that he voted to keep when he was intentionally going to do it in the minority, which is never a good idea in the first week, won HOH week 3. He took a huge risk in week 1, and it paid off dividends, and now he's in a really strong position. What could have been just a really small group of 4 is now a very powerful group of 5. So I think Jacob is pretty lucky. What do y'all have to say about Jacob?
So I think Jacob's playing a really good game, or he was playing a really good game. I think he's gonna start devolving, like just in his own game. Like the conversation he had with Shelby for me is that starting point of him like devolving his game, and I think that luck's about to run out, and he's not gonna be able to handle the game as well anymore. And I'm interested to see the downward spiral because that's always fun to watch, but it's for me 1,000% coming. Like there's no way in my mind Jacob makes it to the end of this game.
Awesome. Aaron agrees.
Yeah. Like I do agree that like Joe leaving before Jacob would be better because Joe is very dramatic and he's very, I don't know. He's like, it's the story arc of Joe getting evicted. That's what this season is right now. And Jacob staying later. But I do feel like Jacob is on a downward spiral to jury. So
yeah, I think the weekly commitment's getting a toll on him too. Like he's staying up late, it's affecting his work. So hang in there, Jacob. It's a marathon, not a sprint if you want to make it to the end. So let's talk about the partner, X Production, Joe. I do want to say that I think that Joe is weird because he doesn't, I remember like he didn't talk to anybody Sunday through Wednesday, and then he wants to campaign for votes week 1 and week 2 right before eviction, like as if you can have control over somebody based on a conversation for 20 minutes, 2 hours up until the vote. I remember being very frustrated with Joe that he was doing that so consistently. It worked out for him in week 1, didn't work out for him in week 2. And he's getting a lot of credit. People are placing blame on Joe. I don't necessarily know if the blame should be on Joe, but Joe is the person doing the last minute campaigning. Nick, what are your thoughts of Joe's game?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think he's pushing like too hard and too soon because it's not going unnoticed. Like it's very strange to me that people associate Jacob and Joe as a pair. And in my mind, Jacob has like more influence over people. Like he has that really strong relationship with Shelby, which I think is more than what Joe has. But for some reason, the Minority Alliance blames everything squarely on Joe. Like I'm pretty sure their picture says like "fuck you, Joe" on it or something like that, which is crazy to me. Like I don't really I guess understand it, but it's not, he's not in a good spot. Like he's going to be the #1 enemy if that other side gets power. So whatever he's doing, like he must have just been like pushing too many people too hard, and that people picked up on it. So yeah, he needs to cool it down, but I might be too late.
So let's talk about the person that kind of placed him in that pedestal of Your Highness, which is Michael Brady. Now, Michael Brady, I thought, was very fortunate to have won week 1 HOH. He wasn't there the first 3 days. He created the divide himself. He caused a lot of chaos, sending home Pam when he backdoored Jonathan. Kind of laid low week 2, and now in week 3, his side is just dwindling down. He doesn't really trust the other side at all. His only connection to the other side really is Shelby. He's seeing his options like diminish before his eyes. Now he's kind of going crazy. What do you think of Michael Brady's game, Aaron?
Man, like I knew from pre-interview he's going to be crazy, but like it's insanity. Like, he just goes like from his first week, it was pretty sane. I mean, yes, we flip-flopped on what we were doing, and like, screw it, I'm picking Pam. Like that was fine. But like his whole, it's literally a roller coaster with him. And like I mentioned earlier, right now he's in like pity party mode where everything is everyone else's fault, and no one's playing the game. He's trying to play the game and align with me, but I want to talk bad about you anyways. I need some allies, but y'all all suck. Like it's really like messy, and I can't condone such behavior, but I do hope he makes it further than some of the other people in the game.
Let's talk about some of those other people in the game. Mandy. Mandy, I think, is kind of an interesting character. She's definitely loud whenever she's there. She might say some things without a filter that can offend lots of people. But there's something about her that either it's her non-threatening ways or I don't know, probably just her non-threatening ways that allow her to stay every single week. I mean, when she did survive week 2, I was pretty excited because week 1 I was saying that she usurped Pam's pawn position, and she proved me right. So Jermaine, tell me a little bit about Mandy and her game.
What game? I'm sorry. That was me. Mandy in this game is a body that is in the house with a random number assigned to her. I don't see anything happening with her. If she's going, she'll probably go in a double when somebody can't make up their mind. Like I'm sorry, she has no influence. She's not a factor. Sorry, not sorry.
Jermaine is feeling feisty tonight. Let's talk about somebody who is a factor, Shelby. Now, we're very high on Shelby. She's doing us proud. Katie, do you think people are? Oh wait, never mind. Let me not ask a question about her. You'll just talk about Shelby's game. I think Shelby's doing a great job. However, I think after Joe and Jacob are gone, she's the next biggest threat. She does have an ally, Michael Brady, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Michael Brady's there to play for himself, and if he recognizes Shelby as a huge threat, and there's Mandys and Ryans around, why not keep the Mandys and Ryans? I think Shelby's playing a great game. She has a lot of connections right now, and I don't think that she would potentially even go on the nomination chair. She set herself up very well. And what was funny was that Shelby, Dustin, and Jonathan, they are on the Good Bitches call before Jacob and Joe joined, and they analyzed Jacob and Joe as being, don't worry, guys, we have 2 airbags before it's going to be us that gets eliminated. Bang, bang! So, 2 people are going from this side, it's both of them. But I think once those airbags deploy, Shelby's the next airbag. Katie, what do you think of Shelby and her gameplay?
I really, really like it. Shelby's problem though, and it's always, I think, been her problem in games, is she's way too loyal, and she's becoming too loyal to people on opposite sides. So she's very loyal to Jacob, but she's also very loyal to Michael Brady. And that, I think, is going to be her downfall in this game, because as a player, Shelby picks those people and is loyal to them start to finish. And eventually she's going to have to betray one of them, and she's going to try so hard to avoid that they are going to see it. Like, Jacob's already kind of seeing it a little bit with, like, I need you to try and win. And she's like, I don't want to be an HOH. And that's because she doesn't want to be disloyal to someone like Michael Brady. And eventually either she's going to be forced to, and it's going to destroy her, or they're going to realize it and turn on her, I think.
Definitely. So Jermaine, you're fine with Dustin being pre-jury. Katie, we know that you love Dustin, but we're going to get Nick's perception of Dustin's game. For me, I actually think he is in a great spot to win. I really do. I think that he's a very sociable, likable guy, and I don't see him being more threatening than his alliance. And I think that him coasting on his alliance right now is fine. He put in the work for that loyalty. He has people that are going to leave before him. And I don't think he's afraid to make a move. And I think if he needs to make a move to make a case toward win at the end, he's going to do that. And at Final Six, he might be able to have the opportunity to do that. Nick, what do you think about Dustin's gameplay?
I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you just said there. Like, I can see what Jermaine was talking about, where he's not really doing much, but he doesn't need to do much right now. And that's not a bad thing when it's only week 3. He's definitely probably like the least threatening person in his alliance right now, just because he doesn't push super hard to get his agenda through, and he hasn't, I don't think, won any competitions yet. But I think he has the ability to win competitions, which he's going to need if he does get to the end. So, you know, talk about his alliance having 2 airbags. You can count Shelby as the 3rd one in front of him if you want, and he might be, you know, the last one standing of the good bitches if it comes to it. So, yeah, I agree. He's in a very good spot right now.
My problem with Dustin, though, I wrote it on my little weekly update, was that he's not doing anything, so I don't see any credit for him in the future. Like, everything is going to be credited to Joe, Jacob, and Shelby. When if he were to get to the end, it's like, what did you do? You hid behind Joe, Jacob, and Shelby. Like, that's my big problem with Dustin's game right now. I mean, he has no choice but to do it, and it's working out for him. But I just hope that in the future he does something so that he can have some type of credit. Like, oh, I hid behind these people, and then when I was ready, I pounced in and eliminated everyone else I needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now let's talk about Chris. He's one of the 2, him and Brady, like, visible people on the other side. My biggest critique of Chris's gameplay was week 2 when he decided to let people reach out to him and he didn't reach out to anybody else. I say use the tools you got, use what you're skilled at. If he's an extrovert and he reaches out to people, ignore the fact that they're ignoring you, force yourself on them. We have Dustin, who doesn't necessarily have pregame connections with the other side, but he still integrated himself very nicely. Jacob, similar story. He didn't have that BBL thing, but still integrated himself. He had Joe. So I think Dustin's a good example of what Chris could have been. What do you think about Chris's gameplay now that he ostracized himself and is a David versus Goliath situation?
I feel like Taylor leaving is his like the best thing that could have happened for his game. He now can use that to be like, I'm not a threat in that sense. Yes, he's a threat because he's a sociable and he can win competitions, but he's not a threat. Like, he's not the biggest threat because he's not going around, you know, like Michael Brady and being all pissy. I guess Ryan, for that fact matter, either. And he doesn't have a partner that they're a duo or anything. He could, well, with the people that he has left, he can't really use the Jacob, Joe, Shelby. But I think he can work with the Taylor not being here. I think that's his biggest advantage that he's going to have to be able to use to get himself further in the game. And an HOH would be nice for him too.
Oh my God, it would be so amazing if Chris could get HOH. Oh,
There'd
it'd
probably
be
be
amazing.
tears in his eyes.
I would cry for him. Last but certainly not least, I left this person last for a reason. Jonathan. After I saw him go through this week as head of household, I think he has a chance to win. I think he has a chance to win this game. He's thinking that he doesn't. He's already crediting Jacob for like being the person. If you're crediting someone week 3, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. If you can see that they're going to win in week 3, they're not going to win. But Jonathan, I think he handled this HOH perfectly. He put up 2 people. They're not going to gun. Whoever survives isn't gunning for him.
Yeah,
they're not going to gun for him because he's not big of a threat. And I love that he forced an alliance with him and Andrew. He identified the situation. He's on the bottom of his side. Andrew's the bottom of the other side. This was the connection I was talking about week 1. Have somebody from one side, have somebody from the other, and they connect. I did not think that it would be Jonathan and Andrew. I'm so happy that he forced that alliance on Andrew. I think he was listening to Andrew's points. I think that they could balance each other well. I really hope that they help each other make it to the end. If it's those 2 in the final 2, Jonathan has such a strong chance to win. Everybody, please talk about Jonathan's game because I am clearly a fan.
So I just want to piggyback off of that. Him being nominated the very first week was probably the best thing that could ever happen for him. He has almost a permanent excuse to always nominate a good half of the house. Not only that, he was clumped into an alliance who, of course, he's like, oh, they want me? Like, sure. Like, I'm not going to turn down an alliance, especially, hello, I got 2 big targets who, you know, are definitely going to go before me. And I'm also going to make sure that, you know, I have somebody on the side as well. He really came from a slump. He really sat back, said, what is my position in this game? Oh, okay. I'm irrelevant. Let me just ride the irrelevant wave and let me just make connections behind the scene. Y'all are going to put targets on yourselves. Y'all are going to be the ones that are fighting back and forth with each other. I'm just going to sit back here and like just let the dust settle. And if shit goes down, I got somebody over here who's like, hey, I got your back. This was like HOH was the best thing for him to happen. Him getting nominated first week, HOH this week was the best thing for him to happen. And if he continues to keep that low profile that he does, I think he is going to, he's going like to the end. And I never thought I would say that about John Marmo in this game.
Anything else? Any last comments for Jonathan?
Yeah, I said it before and I want to say it again. I think for me, I saw the winner in Jonathan in his reaction to Ryan coming at him and how he managed to stay so calm. He even made a comment that made me act like legitimately laugh out loud when he was like, well, Keith will show it in the episodes that I was right. Like it was, his reaction to it was really great. His response to it, admitting, yeah, I said you were safe, but not after this. Like, just he seems so logical and reasonable, which you don't see, especially in juxtaposition with Ryan going off for literally no good reason. So for me, that was very okay. This kid could go far because he can handle himself, which is the most important part. Being able to control your own emotions and your own reactions in the game. So good.
I love Jonathan's story arc right now. I just love the story of being nominated, almost going home, basically one foot out the door, then chilling out for a whole complete week, like probably didn't talk to anybody week 2, but just chilling out that week, and then winning HOH and doing he's done the best. He's been the best HOH thus far, getting what he wanted to have done. You put 2 big people up. You know that you want only one of them gone, so don't put a third big person up. Just put a basic person that's gonna go off on you. Like I'm just, yes, Jonathan, yes, yes, yes. He's like, I feel like how I feel about Jonathan is how you feel about Andrew.
Maybe.
But I see DRs from Jonathan, so I know what Jonathan is thinking.
Exactly. Nick, do you want to wrap this up?
Just about Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys, I agree with everything you're saying. So I don't really have too much to add. But I will say, like, I didn't know a lot of these people coming into the game. So like, I think something he said in his interview was something about like how he always like messes up or something, or like how he's messy. I vaguely remember him saying something like that. So I hope that doesn't happen to him, because like you guys said, I think he was very like, he did a very good job. He stayed calm. He made logical decisions. And I'm just so happy that he stayed week one, because to me, he's also an entertaining character. Like I usually am like laughing out loud at his DRs and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if I see him as the winner right now, but I definitely see him having the potential to go far, and I'll be rooting for him. So yeah.
Very awesome. Well, thanks again, production. Full house tonight. We hope you enjoyed the series. It was about an hour long, so we're going to stop it soon. But again, thanks so much. We love the cast. And one more pre-jury to go. Don't let it be you. Good luck and stay basic. Bye.